call the public session of the meeting to order at 7:25, and I'm going to ask everyone to please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Scheckler, do you want to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great, thank you. First, we have our agenda review. Dr. Kelly, do you have anything to add to the agenda tonight? I have nothing to add. Board members, anyone have anything to request or add? Okay, seeing nothing, we'll move on with the agenda as presented, and I will move us to the Ospey Central School student presentation, and I appreciate our students being so patient with us and apologize for being late to your presentation, and I'm going to give the floor to your teacher. Thank you.
He's a little shy. I'm Tracy Holmes. I teach 5th grade here at Ospey Central School. Some of you know me, some of you might not. This is my teaching partner, Seth Levitt-Carlson.
Hello.
The kids here have been studying about Earth spheres and how they interact, and we thought a fun way to do that would be for them to research natural disasters, because who doesn't like a good disaster, and talk about how they collide and get together. So we gave them a rubric. Gotta love that, Katie. I made it just for you. It's on your seat right next to Carolyn. And we started off with some research, and you can see here there's an empty researcher, and then each child created their own research notes. We gave them blank slides, and they came up with beautiful masterpieces. And our first student presenter is going to be Sorry.
Okay, so today I will be talking all about earthquakes. Okay, I've got some interesting facts on earthquakes. Now, it took a while to research the earthquakes, but I figured it out. So there's four actually. There's 4 interesting facts that I wanted to show you, and I gave a little picture to show you where most of the the earthquakes happen, and a little caption to give some more information. And that's all. Thank you.
Next up, we have Payson Hall. He's our flood man.
I'm going to be telling you guys about a real-world flood. Real-world flood. Hurricane Katrina started in Florida, dumped tons of water in Louisiana. Dams broke. Thanks.
Mia Morrill has tornadoes.
I have a real-world example of the tri-state tornado. Tornadoes can be very devastating and cause lots of destruction. One example is the tri-state tornado of 1925. It was one of the deadliest tornadoes.
Thank you, Mia. Annabelle Roche.
So today I have sinkholes. This is the definition, and I researched that sinkholes start out as small holes or a small soft spot in the ground, and they can work up to being big holes that swallow cars, poles, power lines, or even more. And ash, that there are two types.
Next up, we have Serafina with volcanic disasters.
Volcanoes are, this is how volcanoes are interact. We have a little image of the lava spewing out of the Earth's, it's the geosphere, which lava pours out of all the Earth's crests and makes its way to the top. And a lot of ash and gas could pollute the air. That's why they're really dangerous.
Last but not least, I have another tornado.
So, since Mia has already done one of my real world examples, I will be sharing another real world example that happened in Oklahoma in 1999. The Bridge Creek Moor in Oklahoma tornado that happened 26 years ago on May 3rd, 1999 is when the Creek Bridge happened in southern portions of Oklahoma City and other parts of Oklahoma.
Flexible as I used to be. Thank you guys. That concludes our 5th grade presentations.
Thank you so much for your presentation, and appreciate learning about all those things and seeing everything that you've put hard work into in the classroom recently. So thank you so much again. Go right ahead, please. We can give you guys a couple of minutes. Yep. All right. We move on next to our meeting minutes for our recent meetings. First, we have the October 1st, 2025 school board meeting. Is there a motion to accept the meeting's minutes as presented?
So moved.
Second. Moved by Dr. Beth, seconded by Dr. Jim Manning. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Kathy, we could call the roll once you're ready, please.
Yes. Kirsten? Yes.
Yes.
Dr. Jim?
Aye.
Mary?
Yes.
Dr. Beth?
Yes.
Danielle?
Yes.
Brody?
Aye. Motion passes 8-0. We'll move on to our October 6th school board meeting minutes. I saw no issues, so unless someone else does, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mary, seconded by Kayla. Is there any further discussion or comments? Seeing none, you call the roll once you're ready, Kathy, again, please.
Yes.
Kirsten? Yes. Kayla?
Yes.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Dr. Beth? Yes. Danielle?
Yes.
Brody?
Aye. I did have one comment actually on those meeting minutes, so I'm sorry. The statement that I read at that meeting, could we make sure that's attached to the meeting minutes? Is that okay with the board? I think we had intended, I know it's posted on the website, we put it in the newspaper, but I assume we want it also attached to the meeting minutes. Okay, doesn't change the meeting minutes substantially, so if you could do that, Kathy, please, I'd appreciate it. Next is the October 9th Buildings and Maintenance Committee meeting. Those present were Dr. Jim Manning, Kirsten Burke, and Kayla Hewitt. So someone who was present would make a motion. Yep.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Kayla, seconded by Kirsten. Is there any discussion from anyone on the committee? No. If you could call the roll, Kathy, of the committee members, please.
Kirsten? Yes. Kayla?
Yes.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Passes unanimously, 3-0. We'll move on to the October 22nd Academic Affairs Committee meeting. And those present were Tom Bickford, Dr. Beth Scheckler, Mary Shilriff, and Danielle Van Dusen. If someone who was present at the meeting would make a motion to accept the minutes as presented, I'll assume.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Beth, seconded by Mary Shilriff. Is there any discussion or comments or concerns, anything? Seeing none, if you could call the roll of the committee members, please, Kathy, once you're ready.
Tom?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Dr. Beth?
Yes.
Danielle?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously, and then we will move on to the October 22nd school board meeting, the special meeting we had. I think the full board was present. Nope. Members present were Tom Bickford, Kirsten Burke, myself, Dr. Jim Manning, Mary Shilriff, Dr. Beth Scheckler, and Nate Williams. Members absent were Kayla Hewitt and Danielle Van Dusen. So someone would make a motion who was present to accept the meeting minutes as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mary, seconded by Dr. Jim. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, if you could call the roll of the board, Kathy, please.
Tom?
Yes.
Kirsten? Yes. Kayla?
I'll abstain.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Dr. Beth?
Yes.
Danielle?
I would abstain.
Brody?
Aye. So motion passes 7-0 with 2 abstentions. Sorry, 6-0, 2 abstentions. And next is the manifest approval. Tonight's signing is Tom Bickford, myself, and Kirsten Burke. Oh, it would be a motion to accept the manifest as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Jim, second by Kirsten. If you could call the roll, Kathy, once you're ready, please.
Tom?
I'm going to abstain because I haven't had a chance to read.
Okay.
Kirsten?
Yes.
Kayla?
Yes.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Dr. Beth?
Yes.
Danielle?
Yes.
Brody?
Aye. So motion passes 7-0 Okay, next we'll move into public input. Public input is for a total of 15 minutes, 3 minutes for each individual unless extended by vote of the board. We ask that you state your name and town of residence when you go up to speak. I've been asked by some board members and members of the public to be a little bit more stringent with the public input, so I'm not going to do a hard stop at 3 minutes, but I'm going to ask folks to be cognizant. I'm going to flag when we've hit 3 minutes, and if you go excessively over, I'm going to ask you to conclude your comments. And so please feel free. You can get up at the mic there at the podium, and thank you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Carolyn D'Angelo, just a concerned citizen from Wolfeboro, New Hampshire. I'm in a lovely group of women who are concerned about our town and the schools in this district. And it was brought to our attention from an article in the Granite Eagle that Dartmouth Health offered to fund an LGBTQ training in New Hampshire public schools. The article said that the Dartmouth Health Community Partnership Coordinator invited schools to the professional development workshops led by New Hampshire outright at no charge to the schools. They were going to waive their fee. That arrangement appears to place New Hampshire's largest hospital system at the center of efforts to bring advocacy-driven programming into the state's K-12 public schools. While the offer lifted financial barriers for districts, it also positioned Dartmouth Health as a conduit for New Hampshire Outright, a group that has drawn controversy for its youth-focused programming, including its Little Outriders. initiative that targets children as young as 5. This is part of this, I'll give you a copy of this. But it said, and I'm going to end with this, the result of this, according to critics, is that families are often unaware when advocacy groups like New Hampshire Outright are given a platform in schools, and while the trainings are framed as professional development, the subject matter, which is the gender identity, pronouns, and elementary level LGBTQ lessons, cuts directly into issues many parents believe should be addressed at home and not in the classroom. My question to you, if you can even answer me, I'm curious, has this happened in the schools, or is this still being discussed? I want to say that this Granite Eagle, this is from a September 3rd. So, that was my question.
Yeah, no, we've never reviewed any of that, and they don't operate in the school district.
Okay, do you want a copy of this?
I would be more than pleased, and if you'd like us to add it to the meeting minutes, I'd be more than happy to. Okay, thank you, and appreciate you taking the time. What was your Caroline D'Angelo?
Caroline D'Angelo.
Okay. Nice to meet you, I'm Brody.
I know you are.
Okay.
Can I clarify something super quick? Not about the content of this, but about questions in general.
Yeah, go ahead.
So like in public comment, sorry. In public comment, like we can't respond to people or like to answer questions always, and sometimes when they're quick we can, but our superintendent and her office are happy to answer questions like that anytime.
Yeah.
Thanks. And thank you.
Yep. Thank you for clarifying. I think sometimes too, when it's a simple yes or no, you know, we get, you guys take time out of your evening, so we try not to get into Q&A, but I think that was a pretty straightforward and simple question, so we try to be transparent. But I agree with you, Danielle. Always feel free, any member of the public, to reach out to the superintendent's office, and she's more than happy to sit down with you and have a discussion about any of these topics in curriculum and to help people better understand what how our schools are functioning and how we're educating children. So, thank you. Is there any other public input? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to the student representative report. The floor is yours, Bryce. Thank you.
Is this thing? All right, perfect. Thank you, Brody. Good evening, everybody. I'll get started today with some athletic updates from the fall sports teams. So in the rivalry matchup against Kennett on Halloween, the football team won 35-7 in dominant fashion to clinch the 6th seed in the playoffs with a 6-3 overall record and 5-0 at home. Senior nights were held to honor the football, cheer team, and band member seniors as well. We look to play 3-seed Plymouth on Saturday in the quarterfinals for our first playoff opportunity in well over a decade. Before that, also on Halloween, the boys soccer team came up just short in their quarterfinal matchup against Conval. The final score was 3-2, with both goals coming from Brady Moulton. They finished the season with a record of 9-3-4. The girls volleyball team finished their regular season with a record of 12-4, putting them at the 7th seed for playoffs, where they've had an excellent start. They started by beating 10-seed Laconia 3-1 at home, and then upset 2-seed Co-Brown 3-2 to advance to the semifinals. They'll face 3-seed Somersworth this Thursday at Pinkerton Academy for a chance to head to the championship. The girls field hockey team made the playoffs as the 8th seed after finishing the season with a record of 9-7 and beat Merrimack Valley in the first round 5-2 at home. They went on to lose against the number 1 seeded Souhegan team in the quarterfinals on October 26th. The girls soccer team ended their season with senior night on October 23rd against Keene. They finished the season with 2 wins, one against Kennett and the other against Laconia. The cross country team competed in their state meet on October 25th, where senior Grady Steele qualified for the Meet of Champions as the first Kingswood runner in 6 years to do so. He competed on Saturday and got a time of 14:54 in the 5K. Beyond athletics, Kingswood had its homecoming pep rally and dance in early October with almost 400 students attending. Class council is now in the planning phase of our annual Thanksgiving basket food drive, where each class will be asked to donate certain items for community members in need. The National Honor Society recently had a trunk or treat with kids at Crescent Lake, where they dressed up in costumes and played games for prizes. NHS will have their induction ceremony for new members on Thursday the 13th. The Tech Center had their annual induction ceremony on October 23rd to honor all of the officers and members of the different groups that we offer, along with a breakfast provided by the culinary program. The new marine technology program at the school is also up and running, with students recently taking a tour of Goodhue Boat Company in Wolfeboro and working on a boat here at the high school. Both DECA and FBLA had their fall leadership conferences at UNH this past month and are now in full swing as well. Finally, for the Tech Center, the Future Farmers Association recently traveled to Indianapolis to compete nationally. Kingswood Theater will be hosting their showing of Cinderella this month from the 21st to the 23rd, and tickets are available now. Finally, the annual holiday craft fair will be held on Saturday, November 29th for vendors to come and sell to the community, and students from multiple organizations will be there to help. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you for the report, Bryce. Does anyone have any questions for Bryce?
I do, actually, what was that? Sorry. I just need to know the date of the craft fair because I missed it.
Yeah, that'll be on November 29th, the Saturday.
Thank you.
It's an annual treat. I was just going to say thank you. You mentioned the Crescent Lake Trunk or Treat, and just as a PTOer over Crescent Lake, I just want to comment on how awesome it is that our high school community, middle school, we all interact really together and without NHS, and I think where the LRTC ambassadors came this year too, which was really awesome. It just is so much better having our high schoolers there to help. So thank you for the community, inter-school community work.
Awesome. Any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you, Bryce, for answering questions and taking comments. Appreciate it. Next, we'll move on to the superintendent's report. And first is the curriculum and assessment presentation. Floor is yours, Dr. Callahan.
Thank you. Test. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I'm very pleased to introduce, if you can hear me, our new Director of Curriculum, Danielle Harvey, while she's getting set up. So Danny is going to present assessment data and give you just a little snapshot of where we are with curriculum, instruction, and assessment across the district.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me here tonight. I'm excited to be able to share an update for our assessment results and our work around curriculum instruction and assessment this year. I'll begin with the math New Hampshire State Assessment results for grades 3 through 8. So this is a breakdown by grade level on our proficiency from the spring. You can see red is significantly below proficient, yellow is below proficient, green is proficient, and blue is above proficient. Thank you. In this graph, the state is the blue bar, and we are the red bar. Each grade level is represented, so 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. And you can see 6th, 7th, and 8th are students achieved above the state averages for math. This graph is a year-to-year comparison, so you can see our 3rd graders from 2014 spring is blue, and then 2024, and then 2025 is green. So you have a 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade again. The 3rd and 5th grades saw decreases as a grade level, but our 4th, 6th, 7th, and 8th either remained steady or increased. Last year, 2 different math book clubs were offered for professional development: Building Thinking Classrooms for the middle school and high school teachers, and The Productive Struggle for elementary teachers. Both of these texts focus on fostering deep mathematical thinking by engaging students in meaningful problem solving, encouraging productive struggle, and building students' confidence and independence as math learners. Yeah.
Can I just ask you, so when we're looking at the scores for grade 4, that's there? So, yes. Thank you. So when we're looking at the scores that are presented there for grade 4, is that two cohorts of students who are in grade 4 in 2024, and then students who are in grade 4 in 2025?
Correct.
Or are we looking at, we're not looking at a longitudinal?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. This is more about how the grade level curriculum is helping students to achieve proficiency. Now this is a year-to-year comparison, so this goes all the way back to 2016. It skips over the COVID 2020 year. But you can see our 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade and their proficiency. So we're right around that 50th percentile, right, of proficiency, and then we're going up and down depending on our scores there. So 3rd grade's blue, 4th grade's red, 5th grade is green, and this lets you see how the grade level has performed in math over time. You can see 4th grade went up last spring, which is good to see. We continue to use our Eureka Math Squared program. It has a coherent scope and sequence that aligns to our standards, but it's more streamlined and user-friendly for both teachers and students, and incorporates more sense-making activities, which is how students make strong connections between the math concepts and skills. As you saw in the previous graph, and again on this one, last year's 5th grade had a dip from their proficiency as 4th graders and from what typical 5th grade proficiency looks like. Our schools are looking at other data points like exact path and classroom assessments to target what students need to continue their growth. And they have these discussions in their data team meetings. In addition, the math coaches and I have been looking at the 5th grade scope and sequence to talk about what's going on there and kind of dig in a little bit deeper if there's any curriculum pieces that we need to address. This is the same graph but year to year, but with 6th grade in purple, 7th grade in teal, and 8th grade in orange. 6th and 8th have growth, and 7th remain relatively the same. Another piece that we do with our math assessments is we incorporate the modulars, so they have like a practice test that we can use in the classroom, and they're focused on individual standards or skills. So it's not a little bit of everything, it's a chunk of questions on the same topic. So we do those with some of our end of module math assessments. This gives students the opportunity to interact with similar questions and test features that they'll see on their state assessment, while giving teachers specific data on student understanding of a topic that they just taught. So instead of just practicing the test to practice it, they get to focus on something that is relative to their instruction.
Look, I'm sorry to sound like an idiot, but can you just, from this graph that I'm looking at right now, if there's a student who is in the 6th grade this year, where is their cohort on your chart?
If they're in the 6th grade this year,
right,
they would have been in 5th grade last year.
So they're the end dot?
They'd be the green on this chart.
They're the green line across.
Yep.
So that's their performance over time. That's this year's 6th grade is green line.
Sorry, so this is not a cohort. This is over time how our
So that's a snapshot in time how 6th grade performed last year. And is that the end of year assessment?
Correct.
Okay. And so the following chart is 7th grade, end of year, 6th grade.
So
I know that.
This is when they tested 6th grade.
Yep.
In 2016, this is how they did. In 2017, this is how the 6th graders did.
At the end of the year?
Yes.
Okay. But, and are you going to show us later how the cohorts are performing over time?
I have a couple different ways to look at the data.
Okay.
So we'll see if that answers your question.
Thank you.
Yep. So this is the next one, just pulling one grade level and comparing it to the state to be able to see how we do in comparison to the state of New Hampshire average. So these slides show each grade and how we compare to the state average. We're the blue line, the state is the red. This is for 3rd grade. So again, this follows every time they take the test in 3rd grade, not a group of students. Is that clear? Okay. While we're talking about math, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the excellent work of our math coaches to support teachers. This fall, they've organized look and learn visits for teachers in grades K through 6 to go and observe other teachers in the district teaching math. In December, once everyone has had the chance for an observation, They will meet as a grade level team to debrief the visits and the instructional practices that they saw in action. This embedded professional development is helping to share the expertise of our staff across the district.
I'm really sorry.
You're
I know.
okay.
Yeah. So how long have we had math coaches active in the district?
For historical questions, I'm going to look to Dr. Hills.
Katie.
Yeah, we've had them since the ESSER funds were available, but they were a
was-
little bit different then because we had them in every building, and now we have them spread out over several buildings.
Okay, I'm looking at that chart. Maybe we can talk about correlation, but this isn't fantastic. I'm just, okay.
So in fourth grade, again, where the blue line in the state is the red average, we got closer to the state average this year. So we had a dip last year and we're coming back up. For fifth grade, we followed the state trend of a dip. Sixth grade outperformed the state average, where the state had a dip, but we were able to increase our proficiency. Our seventh graders remained steady where the state had a dip. And finally, eighth grade continued its increase. We'll switch to ELA assessment for grades 3 through 8. These are the results from the spring, again broken down by grade level and proficiency level. Red is significantly below, yellow is below proficient, green is proficient, and blue is above proficient. This is where you look at the grade level against the state. For some reason, the color switched on this one, I apologize. So the state is blue in this and we are red. So we're pretty close to the state with most grade levels, with the celebration in last year's 8th grade class, because again, this was the spring of last year. Governor Wentworth has been working on a strong foundation of ELA skills in K-2 with the science of reading practices and IMSE, but those students aren't in 3rd grade yet. This is the year-to-year comparison. So the 2024 year is red, the 2025 spring year is green. You can see our 8th grade cohort is the happy celebration here. You may recall last fall that Dr. Hill shared that 7th grade had grown 11%. Last spring, they were able to continue their strong performance as 8th graders. The ELA scores are made up of both reading and writing. Since we have a strong foundation in K-2, we're looking at pulling together a task force for grades 3 through 6 to continue that work and look at morphology and comprehension skills in those grades. We also have a writing task force that is piloting 2 resources this year to see which one we like the best. We're looking for an explicit and structured writing program that will be more robust and coherent for students as they develop their writing skills. These are the year-to-year comparisons. Grade 3 is blue, grade 4 is red, grade 5 is green. Grade 6 is purple, grade 7 is teal, grade 8 is orange. And again, these are the individual grade levels and how they compared to the state since 2018. 3rd grade had a dip. Again, we're looking at writing as being a part of this, hence the task force that's looking for explicit and robust set of instructional practices to support teachers and students in the complex task of writing. 4th grade, where the blue line, the state is the red. 5th grade, we're right with the state average this year, or last spring. 6th grade again, right with the state average. 7th grade had a slight dip, but we're still with the state average. And then our 8th grade celebration. Next, we'll briefly look at the science assessment, which is given in 5th, 8th, and 11th grades. So the color coding is the same, with the substantially below being red, and the proficient being green, and the above being blue. We do have a science task force meeting this year to look at the instructional resources that we use for science in grades K through 6. Last year, when they were validating science assessments during their CIA meetings, they noticed that one of the resources we used, the assessments weren't always meeting the rigor of the standard, and they were having to supplement and adjust the assessments to meet those expectations. So we're investigating to see if there's a better resource for us to consider using for our science instruction.
Can you explain that again? I'm sorry. You're saying the assessment wasn't adequate to meet the standard? Can you explain what you mean?
Sure. So during the CIA meetings last year, teachers would bring their science assessments that they would use after a unit.
Yep.
And they would look at the assessment and see if it really hit the standard that they were trying to teach to.
Okay.
And they were finding that the assessments weren't always as closely aligned to the standard as they had hoped that they would be.
Not rigorous enough.
Or not rigorous.
Okay.
Correct. So they were either having to supplement or having to redesign the assessment to truly meet that standard.
Okay, because what we're seeing here is the state level assessment.
Correct.
Okay.
So if we're not meeting those standards on
Of
our
course.
unit assessments, we're going to struggle in the state one.
Right?
My question to that point is, and excuse, I'm not an educator. I have other professional backgrounds, but certainly, not education per se curriculum. Why wouldn't you check to make sure that the assessments being used in the classroom met the rigor in advance prior to using them, rather than find out after you do the assessments and it sounds as if sounds like we should do the inverse. Could you explain professionally what I'm kind of missing there?
So a lot of the times when we're using a curriculum, they say they're aligned to the standards, and then as we start using them, we see they're not as aligned as they say that they are. So as they were using these assessments, they were seeing this isn't quite hitting what we want, and it's showing up when they're testing in 5th and 8th grade. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Has this happened with any of our other, kind of how we're assessing our students internally prior to them taking the state assessment? Has that happened with anything else?
So we haven't seen the same discrepancies that I know of in math or ELA. Our math, because we use the modular assessments from the state program, we know that they're more closely aligned because they're lining up there. But part of the work of the CIA meetings is going to be developing rubrics that look at each standard, so we have really clear criteria for what it means to be proficient at a standard, and that'll help us make sure that our assessments are meeting those standards.
And one last question, because I assume others might be wondering it, because I'm really wondering it, is where do we get these classroom assessments? Like, how do we acquire these? Is there a company that we're buying them from, like someone who develops curriculum, and how do we vet that type of stuff?
Yeah, great question. So sometimes it is a company, so like the Eureka Math Squared comes with its own assessments that we use. Sometimes we modify an assessment if it doesn't quite meet our needs or they're teacher created. If it's something that, so one of the tools we use is mystery science, but it may not have all of the topics that we need for science. So sometimes we have to create an assessment there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So as daunting as that other graph was, this shows us and the state. So the state is the blue and we're the red. So you'll see science is a tough assessment in grades 5, 8, and 11. What the science teachers often say is it's more of a rating test than a science test. So that's something that we have to consider when we're working on teaching these skills to the students. I will note that there will be a change to the science assessment in high school next year. Right now it's given in the spring of the 11th grade year. It's moving to 10th grade, and to better align with the content at the high school level, it will no longer have earth science standards. So right now it covers 3 branches of science, but we don't really teach earth science at the high school level if they get it in middle school. So that is alignment that we're very excited about because it's going to better align to the instruction that they receive at high school. Next, we'll look at our high school level assessments. In New Hampshire, students in the 11th grade take the SAT. Our SAT scores for math are in blue. The state of New Hampshire is in red, and then any student who took it in the U.S. is in green.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's just gonna be us, Tea Party. So I just in deference to my constituents, they're gonna see a chart like that and they're gonna say, why are we only scoring 28 on our test? Can you explain what the percentages on this particular graph mean?
So this is the percent of students who are hitting the benchmark
Okay.
for the SAT.
How did they set the benchmark? You're welcome.
I would have to dig and look into that a little bit more for you.
Okay.
So when College Board sends out the results, they put the student scores in different categories. So I just pulled the ones that were meeting or exceeding expectations.
More generally, are these benchmarks? More generally, are these benchmarks being set based on going college path? Okay.
Yes. So the SAT was designed for ranking students who were going to college.
And so we're measuring based on whether or not they could be college ready. But then, how do we know whether or not they're proficient?
So this is one snapshot of how we look at how our students are proficient. I think the other way that we look is their course grades to be able to see, are they meeting competencies in their courses, and are they showing that they've demonstrated the knowledge of the courses that they have taken. One of the things that happens, especially with the math, to be able to score well on the SAT for 11th grade, you have to have completed Algebra 2. So the number of students who have completed Algebra 2 by the time they take this test is very few, right? They still have, they're taking it in April or May, they haven't finished the year yet, even if they are enrolled in Algebra 2. So some of that gets a little tricky too, because they may not have seen the content.
Some students may take the SAT more than once.
Correct.
So how does like a retake score get calculated into the way we track performance, like on the chart here?
Sure, great question. So this is just from the school day SAT last spring. If they took it again and they're going to super score their SATs, that's not reflected. We also choose to give our 10th graders the PSAT. The PSAT is not a required state assessment, so not all schools in New Hampshire administer it, and that's reflected in the data. Okay. So you'll see the percentage of students in New Hampshire and the U.S. who are proficient with this. These are kids who are going out and saying, I want to go sign up and take the SAT on a Saturday morning. Where we're saying every kid's going to do it during the school. So just so it's a different context for this one, but again, those are our proficiency rates. This is a comparison of our reading and writing. So we're the blue. So the state is the blue and we're the red for the SAT. So historically, how 11th graders have done on this assessment. Dr. Hill shared last fall that the percentage of students meeting the benchmark in math and reading and writing for both the PSATs and the SATs fell in all three groups, the district, the state, and the nation. But you can see that we have, although small, an upward trend with our own proficiency for the reading and writing. And then the same graph for the math, where the red, the state is the blue. So those numbers are scary, but we are performing around where the rest of the state is performing in this assessment. So math and science are historically low on these types of assessments. Now we know that the SAS is just one snapshot of student proficiency. So another way that we look at how our students are gaining skills is exact path. Our district uses exact path for remediation and skill building. A reminder that exact path is not the same as the SAS. Dr. Hills has used the analogy of building blocks for exact path before. Exact path assesses the skills students know, which they need to have in order to do the application of the skills that they're asked to do on those state assessments. So this is more skill-based, where the other assessment is more application-based. Last year, exact path was required for the fall and the winter. The fall test gives teachers an understanding of where incoming students are, and then the platform uses those scores to make an individual learning path to provide targeted support and practice in each student's specific skills and weakness. A winter test updates the learning path based on new learning and helps teachers know if they're on track in terms of instruction. Spring gets pretty busy with the SAS testing and Acadian's rating benchmark, so we didn't want to over-test and exhaust students, so the spring assessment was not complete. So these charts show how we compared with the national percentile rank for reading in grades 1 through 8. So it shows how our students compared against students across the nation. The first one is testing window 1, the one in the fall. Testing window 2 is the winter. And then I did put the spring on there, even though it wasn't mandatory, because we did have a good number of students who took the assessment. What you see here is that between fall and winter, we saw an increase in proficiency on grade level skills in reading for grades 1 through 8. With the subgroup assessed in the spring, you can see a marked improvement of skills. So we want them in those darker colors because that means that they're above the 50th percentile of every other kid who took this test in the nation. So we want to see them build their skills and move those bars over.
You talked about when exact path measured, you said application versus skill. So the test, the standardized tests, they test application versus skill. Can you elaborate on that? Like if someone, I would assume if someone had the skill, then they would be able to apply it. But there seems to be a distinction there. Could you elaborate on that, please?
Have you guys ever looked at some of the released items from the SAS testing? So that could be something that you might want to consider if you have time in one of your meetings. I could come back and show you some of the released items. A lot of the times it's, so for reading, you may have to read 2 different stories and then compare and contrast something. Instead of just picking out the main idea, you actually have to pick out the main idea, pick out the supporting evidence, and then put it all together. So SAS has you do some of those more complex tasks where exact path is a little bit more skills-based. So the individual skill of identifying a thesis or identifying what evidence is supporting instead of putting it all together.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So this is the same chart with the math. You'll see the similar skill building in math between fall and winter, again for grades 1 through 8. And this data shows us that students are building up their pile of blocks. They're building up those individual skills that are going to help them with the application piece when they have those higher rigor tasks. So looking ahead, I spoke about the Math Look and Learn Days earlier in this presentation, which is our embedded professional development for the math teachers K-6 this fall. Middle school has also done some of these observations of each other in the past with the support of their math coach. Our monthly CIA meetings for K-6 this year are focused on social studies and articulating what proficiency looks like by creating task-neutral rubrics for each competency. This allows teachers to have a common understanding of what we expect students to be able to demonstrate while still allowing them the freedom to design assessments and learning experiences that work for their class. Each meeting also starts with a time for teachers to share a practice, a tool, or an assessment with their colleagues. Our middle school and exploratory CIA meetings are organized by the content that they teach, with similar goals in mind of sharing resources and creating a clear expectation for what proficiency is through rubrics and conversations about assessments and lesson planning. Our principals have done a nice job of pulling all the data together that we have for students and having data team meetings to identify needs and make instructional plans to support students. We have 2 task forces going right now, the science task force and the writing task force that I mentioned. We are also working to pull together that language arts task force for grades 3 through 6, so that we can look at the integration of science of reading in those grade levels, and now that students are readers in grades 3 through 6, how we can support their continued word and language development and their comprehension. For the high school level, we want to have a common format for their curriculum documents, as we're required to have by hands. So we want to make sure that it includes our competencies, our standards, and how we're going to be assessing those. These documents will help us organize the work that we're doing and help us to address the changes required by the updated 306s. Our academic coordinators have begun the rubric work at the high school level to articulate what learning is expected of students to demonstrate competency. And we're going to continue our whole faculty conversations on grading and what we want that to look like for students and families. This process will include focus groups with students to hear from them about what they find helpful in terms of grades and their feedback. It will also include talking to other schools about lessons that they've learned about using competencies and grading. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think board members will probably have questions. You might not want to unplug just yet because they're probably going to want to ask about other graphs on there. So, yes, Mary, you have a question? If you could grab the mic, please.
May I just comment?
Go right ahead. Comments are in order.
As an educator, and it's increasingly becoming further and further in my past, but I was very much involved in the assessment piece, and what I want to say is thank you to the leadership, the teachers, the feedback loop, the students. It's extraordinary what you're doing. Throw out an education word, disaggregation of data. Probably paid $400 to learn that word in graduate school. The point being, constantly looking, constantly taking the temperature, and knowing that these are human beings and the variation on the theme that happens there. So I applaud the work of this district and what's happening, and your upload of your personal growth to get to this point. And thank you for everybody's work in that. It's good for the kids. I loved how you said, and now that they're readers. So thank you.
Any other comments or questions? So my question is, and I can see what you leading in initiatives with other administrators are going to be doing with staff, and I understand not all of our students come to our buildings ready to learn or prepared to learn. I understand that in this building alone, half the students are in free and reduced price lunch. So there's nothing we can do about those types of systemic issues where these students come and they're not prepared to learn, and it takes significant resources to even get them there to prepare to learn. But I'm wondering, what can we do as a district better where we see other districts with similar demographics, similar need, that are at or above state average? We're currently at or slightly below. It seems like we're not trending in the direction we want to be trending, and I understand, sometimes we have good years where students perform better than other years, and maybe we're just dealing with a demographic shift. But what kind of resources does the board need to be either moving resources from one place to another to prioritize, or asking our residents and taxpayers to raise so then we can be above state average?
That's a great question, and this many months into the job, I don't know that I have a coherent answer for you yet. I will start by saying that I think the work that we're going to be doing with rubrics to clearly articulate where proficiency is going to help to have a nice, clear destination in mind so that we can say, yep, that's what we want. Do we have the resources to get there? And then we'll be able to give you a little bit more targeted of an answer to say, hey, we set up our expectations for middle school social studies and we need a new text to be able to get them there. And we'd be able to come to you and tell you that. I'm not quite there yet. Mm-hmm. I will say that there are some, to your point around is it just the demographic that we have right now? Like that 5th grade math cohort, there's a section of kids that did really poorly, and the teachers are looking at how to make sure those kids do better the next time they take this test, and that we're filling in those skills that they didn't have last time that they took it. So it's a little bit of both. There's some systemic things, but then we also have to make sure that we're finding the kids where they are and helping to build those skills throughout the course of this year so that they can show their best work on the next time they take the test.
In your professional expertise, what have districts that are above the state average or the national average? What makes them able to get their students to above state, or the aggregate amount of students to above state averages? What are the kinds of, or is it strictly that there are just some communities in our state that are wealthier and have more resources, can retain higher skilled staff, and that has, you know, a long-term effect on the entire culture and where students are testing better? Or are there other districts that are similar to ours where we have seen them take on initiatives, maybe even bold initiatives, where they're able to get a higher percentage of students above proficiency or above state averages? And what kind of strategies are they using to get there?
So I've seen first that clarity in the tier 1 expectations. So that's, I'm going to keep circling back to those rubrics and that clear expectation. Because if we aren't all on the same page with that, then we have different levels of, where our bar is not the same across our classes and our courses for our students, and that's going to create discrepancy. So not only at the K-6 sending schools, but also within the middle school and the high school, where we have different teachers teaching the same course, we want to have the common expectation. So tier 1 needs to be really tight with those common expectations first. And then we also need to make sure through the data teams and through multi-tiered systems of supports that we're targeting and supporting students with interventions to fill those gaps. So tier 1 can take us so far, and then we have to have a really strong tier 2, a really strong intervention piece to help build in what's missing from previous spots. So I think those two are what I've seen move students the best when you have those two pieces in place.
Okay.
Thank you, Danny, for all your hard work and for bringing this data to us. We really appreciate having curricular presentations. We would definitely, I would like to have you come back again, and certainly hope to see you at Academic Affairs regularly. I have a few questions for you. Similar to Brody's question, I'm very interested in rigor as an important facet of the way we're delivering instruction in the district. Where do you see improvements in the quality of curricular materials, of how we're providing content to students, so that rigor is an essential component to what they're receiving, that they're being pushed when they can be pushed, whatever level they're at? Can you talk to me about rigor in the district and how we're approaching that issue?
So one of the ways we're doing it is through professional development and making sure that teachers have the background knowledge that they need to be able to really support the students where they are. So one of the first things I did when I came into the district was I was there when we had OGAP training, which is a math professional development over the summer. That is not program specific, but instead it builds the content knowledge of the teacher to be able to say, if the student is here, this is what you need to do to help move them forward. If they're here, this is what you need to do to help move them forward. So building the knowledge in our teachers and making sure that they have that understanding of what comes before and what comes after, so they're not just teaching from a teacher's guide, right? That they can really see what's in front of them and know, okay, you are doing repeated addition right now, you're not ready for multiplication yet, but you're ready for multiplication and you're ready for exponents, and that way they can keep the kids moving.
Great.
So that professional development is a really important part of being able to make sure we're hitting the rigor, because our teachers have to know all of the background knowledge there.
Great, thank you. I have two kids in the elementary schools. I think a lot about practice. I think a lot about homework and philosophy, and like how often kids are getting practice with like the materials that they're receiving. I wonder if you have any thoughts about that. Do you think there are any cultural or practice changes that you'd like to see as you're looking across the district in the way that we're approaching opportunities for kids to work with these kinds of concepts?
I'd have to talk to teachers more about that.
Okay.
I could answer you on that one.
Sounds good?
Yeah.
Okay. I just also would like to make a clarification that money is not in any way correlated to performance. I was a poor kid and I outperformed every standardized test that they threw at me because I was very motivated. And so student motivation is a key factor in whether or not students perform. Lastly, in our last academic affairs meeting, thank you for coming, we had a lot of questions about the competency-based grading scale that is being considered at the high school at this point. Would you like to speak to the whole board given the opportunity about the way you'll be looking at that over the next year? Or do you have any updates on that since we had so much feedback at that meeting?
Sure. So since that meeting, my timeline might be a little fuzzy. Right before that meeting, we met with the whole faculty right before the academic affairs meeting to have a conversation around hearing that they weren't ready for the grayscale change and that they had some concerns around it. My timeline's going to be all messed up.
Don't worry about it. It's all right.
So what we've done towards this is we had a list of questions that we got from our high school faculty on grading.
Yep.
And we worked to provide answers to those. So we created like a frequently asked questions document with links to past presentations that Dr. Hills has given, to research that we've had, to work that I've done in Pittsfield when we did the same work, to try to get some information out around grading and different grading practices.
Okay.
We're going to be, as I mentioned, pulling student focus groups together to talk about what feedback helps them.
Yeah.
So when you get feedback on an assessment, what is motivating to you? How do you help grow? How do you know what it is that you still need to learn?
Yep.
So we want to hear from our students and our learners, and then we'll be talking to other schools to be able to see what they do and lessons that they've learned along the way. So that those are kind of the pieces that we have in play right now.
Thank you so much. I think that engagement with students piece is really important. A lot of the questions that were asked from students that attended that meeting were like baseline questions, and they're very reasonable. And of course, I've been sitting here wondering like, well, what is the difference between our proposed scale and like what you would get at a regular college? Like, I know what a 3.2 means. I know what a 4.0 means. Like, most people who have been through a college system would understand that kind of a scale, but I feel like there's a disconnect and some serious anxiety about that kind of a scale being implemented in our school system. So I'm so glad that you're approaching both the teachers and the students to have continued conversations about this important change at the high school. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, go ahead, Danielle.
There's just, there's some information that I want to research before we meet. But for now, there's like one point that I want to make sure I understand. So I don't know if you have the answer to this or if anybody does, but Dr. Beth just stated that there's no correlation between like the incomes of your household and test results. And I understand, I think your point might have been that there's not a determination that like poor kids can succeed. Statistically, is there a correlation between how much money a household has and how that might affect the test results?
Yes.
Thank you. Can you speak to that?
So we do have reports that we can pull that disaggregate based off of our free and reduced lunch socioeconomic status to see how those students achieve. I didn't do that in preparation for this presentation, but that is something that we can pull.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is where we have higher free and reduced price meal percentages, that tends to be where our test scores struggle, and that tends to be where median incomes are lower and where price of living might be nearly equal to those with higher median incomes in a neighboring town. So it doesn't dawn on me that our district is very socioeconomically diverse and geographically diverse, and different families have different access to varying amounts of resources. But you know, I think it's incumbent that as we continue implementing the competency-based education and you know, be holistic with how we implement the grading, and as we consider requests from the taxpayers for resources on educating the students who are the future of our communities, that that we need to take a really hard look at what curriculum, what rubrics, what program we're utilizing, and how effective it is to get our scores trending in a different direction. I think it's best done in a positive, constructive, and collaborative process. I think some people, they think they can come in here like a bull in a china shop and they're going to make change, and you know, you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. But clearly something's got to give, though, because it becomes difficult for a board to pitch to our residents and taxpayers that we need more money adjusted with inflation to deal with students' needs when all they see on Facebook or social media is a snapshot in time of a group of children who how they tested on one day when they're 2/3 to 3/4 of the way through the year, and seeing that on a trend, flatlining or slightly declining ever so, albeit with the state averages. But I would like to think Governor Wentworth we're more than average. That's what I would like to think, and that's where I'd like us to be. So I think that's a challenge for everyone in the district, is let's be more than average.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Mary.
Speaking of the budget coming up and the things that are asked, I know full well as an appreciation. It's not your zip code necessarily, but what I applaud the school district and what you all have seen coming up is access and opportunity to those enrichment and extension opportunities. And I don't mean to, get to a higher score, but those applications that happen in summer camps, that happen in the after-school programs, that happen during the summer, access and opportunity for families. I see Ossipee particularly, great deal of emphasis with the Chamber of Commerce and the things through Carroll County Coalition for Public Health, supporting families. So to me, it's all about access and opportunity, and to make sure there's equity in that. And I know you're on top of it. I know with the strategic plan, we're on top of it. And as we go to the budget, those little specific things that address the after-school programs, that address, because they cost money. And I guess I'll end there, but it's all about access and opportunity. And I think Ossipee, particularly in this area, only because we're at this school, I see it everywhere. The after-school programs, there's so much need and so much desire, and we don't have enough volunteers necessarily, but I know that we're doing it all we can possibly do. So when it comes to budget, look at those little fine lines. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Any final comments or questions for Danielle? Thank you for taking the time and presenting, and I'm sure we might have you back at a future meeting, so appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, we will move in, well, we're already in, Superintendent's District Update. Dr. Eric Kelly, the floor is yours again.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Danny, for your presentation, even through a rainstorm, as the students seem to predict with their presentation. Thank you. So in my district report, I'd like to just highlight a few things. First, I'm very pleased to share that thanks to Dr. Hills and Janice Andrea, our McKinney-Vento liaison, we've been awarded a competitive grant, McKinney-Vento grant, in the amount of $75,000 per year for 3 years. This project we're going to focus on will be to reduce out-of-district transportation costs by establishing a home share system within our communities. So more information to come, but it's very exciting. So thank you very much for that.
Could you explain what McKinney-Vento is, just for?
McKinney-Vento is the Homeless Assistance Act.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah. I can.
No, you don't need to elaborate. I think
Okay.
just for people who watch the video later.
Thank you. Absolutely. Okay, so next I sent information out about expanding meals eligibility, that program, our local program, to all families and staff late last week. We're starting that now, so families have had the opportunity at the start of the school year to fill out the federal form. That is still available online and in schools. If you haven't filled it out yet, please fill that out, but also then fill out the local form, because that will help us know if you qualify for that expanded qualification bracket that is offered in the Governor Wentworth Regional School District schools. If you have any questions about that, please let us know. We have hard copies of those forms, and we also have them on the food service tab on the right side of the website. We have a lot of information circulating right now about where families can access food. We know that some of the benefits have stopped, WIC and SNAP, and the community is incredible. All of our towns, there's something going on in every single community, whether it's a food drive or donating to end 68 Hours of Hunger or Nights Against Hunger. So please take a look at those resources, those links. There's ways for you to receive food or for you to contribute so that we can all help each other in our communities during this uncertain time. And I also want to echo Danielle's presentation regarding the work that we're doing with the high school. So, it's including working with students, it's including going to other districts, but it is an all-staff endeavor. So we're working with the whole faculty, small groups, hearing from them what works for them in a change process, answering their questions, as Danny mentioned, sharing that information out. They gave us, I think, 38 questions, and they spent a lot of time answering those questions. And we're going to be going back in the November meeting to review some of that information and expand on it, and have the staff have the opportunity to speak to each other. So we'll be continuing that work moving forward. But the answer is in the rubric. That is the key. I'll get more in depth on that when I talk about my goals. The last update I'd like to share is about Carpenter School. So the project is well underway. I have a report here from Bowen Corporation, who is running the project at Carpenter. So they have almost completed the demolition in the ceilings. They've removed ceiling tiles from the dining area, from the gym, multipurpose room, from the classrooms. The room where the ceiling fell is completely cleared out. You have pictures there. And they're starting the strapping this week, the strapping on the ceilings this week. They've created some temporary doors and signage as far as where we're occupying the school and where the construction begins. One of those doors has to still serve as an egress, an emergency exit, so that signage is there. I've been told that no debris is coming through. The air quality is perfect where the students are, while we still have that egress as needed. And so they're well underway for phase 1 of the project. Any questions about the Carpenter project at this time? I'm sorry?
Are there other parts of your report?
No, the report. That's it for the report.
No, but they may have questions about that.
Oh, or any part of my report. Thank you.
I don't think so, but
So
just so you guys wouldn't think you could only ask about the Carpenter School project.
You can ask about anything, but the Carpenter, there's a lot of information there.
Any comments or questions for Dr. Eric Callahan about our report of the Carpenter School project?
You might have said this, Carolyn, but when will phase 2 will be done? Phase 1 will be done in February?
That's right.
Okay.
They need February break, so it could be March 2nd, which is the Monday after.
Got it.
Yeah. We would still need an occupancy, permission from the town to move back in, but that's when the project will be done.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Seeing none, we'll move on to the school calendar for 2026-2027.
Thank you very much.
Wow, already around the corner.
It's right around the corner. Nothing like the present. So I shared this with our associations. It is pretty straightforward. We continue to start school after Labor Day. That's actually in legislation, so it's possible that all school districts will have to start after Labor Day. But this district has traditionally started after Labor Day regardless, so that remains. We have 2 early releases for professional development incorporated into this calendar. Parent conferences. We always accommodate voting in 2 or 3 of our schools. So we have either parent conferences or professional development on those days. The December break is pretty straightforward, and that is pretty much it. Last day of school being a half day on June 18th. However, we reserve the right for any makeup days, June 22nd through 25th. Any questions? I would ask the board for a vote on this calendar.
I have just one question. Is it that, there was a law passed that we aren't allowed to say Indigenous Peoples Day, it has to be Columbus Day?
That's correct.
Cool. Sorry, that was sarcastic, cool. That's my only question.
We do still indicate formally Indigenous Peoples Day on the calendar as a way to not acknowledge it was formally that day.
My only question is in April on the 7th. That's an early release.
Yes.
Why is there an early release on that Wednesday?
So 2 of those. We have one on October 7th and April 7th for professional development.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. And then the voting days, March 9th and November, what's the first Tuesday? November 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
Those are going to be in staff, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I will say we have tentative on March 9th because they haven't technically announced that date yet. So this is by our calculations of when it usually is each year.
Yeah.
If by chance it was, the Tuesday before or after, we would change it to be that day.
Okay, and you come to the board.
Yeah.
My only other question is the 8th.
September 8th?
Is that the state primary day?
I did not
I
receive that.
I know I don't think they've stated it, but usually it's the second Tuesday in September. So I'm wondering if our first day of school will also be a voting day, which might be a bit of a fiasco.
Yeah. If we have that information, we can come back to you.
Yeah, I think that would be, because I know, probably the Secretary of State hasn't set those dates yet. Probably won't be until January-ish time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it might be good to maybe contact someone at their office and say, when do you anticipate the state primary day will be? Because if it's going to be September 8th, that might not be the most ideal first day of school. We might want to add a day to the end of the year and start a day late and let everyone have election day off. Start the school year a day later. So,
Mm-hmm.
okay. But lack of that information at the current time, is there a motion to accept the calendar as presented?
So moved.
All right, moved by Mary, seconded by Dr. Jim. So we're going to approve it as presented, but we're going to ask the administration to look more into whether or not what we currently have scheduled as the first day of school could be the state primary day. Okay. Yeah, we can vote. Is everyone, any comments or questions, discussion? Seeing none, Kathy, if you could call the roll once you're ready, please.
Tom?
Yes.
Kirsten? Yes. Kayla?
Yes.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Dr. Pat?
Yes.
Danielle?
Yes.
Gertie?
Aye. Motion passes 8-0, and we will move on to the superintendent goals.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm very pleased to share draft superintendent goals with you this year. Per policy, I have to bring goals to you by this meeting, and we create these in cooperation with each other. So goal 1, you'll see these are aligned with the strategic plan very closely. Goal 1 is about academic achievement, the first focus area of the strategic plan, academic achievement, implementing universal design for learning. So the superintendent will lead the initiation of professional development and implementation of universal design for learning to strengthen access to multiple pathways through differentiated instruction and assessment practices across all schools. So this is certainly, professional development isn't started and then ends after, 6 months necessarily, because there are many practices in universal design that take time. However, thinking of some of the questions and comments earlier regarding how can we move this district from here to here, how can we improve instruction, how can we improve proficiency, we need to look at how we're providing access to all students. So how are we designing our instruction in a way that all students can access it and make progress? It can be more challenging to design instruction, assessment for students who learn differently, who have challenges, who have disabilities, and that's something that we need to focus on. We need to increase how we're providing multiple pathways for our students. And I've heard examples of how this is needed in all grades. I know we've focused on the high school a little bit, but it is truly K through 12. I can keep going, but I'll move on to goal 2. So in the student wellness focus area, nutrition access, drug prevention, and support services. The 2 strategies that are listed in the strategic plan for a focus this year pertain to access to healthy meals and increased preventative education regarding substance use. So this is all around student wellness, and this will be the focus this year. You'll see that at the budget in the finance committee meetings, we will renew the proposal for a student wellness coordinator. The board approved that proposal last year, so we'll be bringing that back as well. The third goal around family and community communication and engagement, combined with the building a culture of belonging. So this is about recognizing strong partnerships between schools and families. They foster belonging and student success. So when you have that connection, that's what brings in equity. Communication and engagement with family, staff, and community. This focus area focuses on communication, two-way communication between the school board and the community. So last year, I worked with parents to establish a district communication plan. This year, I'll work more with students and with communication for the school board to increase that information. So whether it pertains to the teacher contract, the budget, that kind of communication is something that I want to, play an integral part. Any questions, or can I elaborate on anything?
Go right ahead, Dr. Beth.
Caroline, can you talk a little bit more about universal design for learning, what that will look like across the district?
Sure, let's see. So when I think about some of the areas where we are struggling, I think about our youngest students who are exhibiting some behaviors. And, I'm thinking about where are we inadvertently putting up barriers to students, and so they're not accessing their learning. So when I think about our very youngest students who are exhibiting behaviors, are we offering enough pathways for them to demonstrate their learning? Or are they just rejecting what we're offering? And then could be a trigger for some behavior. Sometimes that's the case. So for universal design for learning, when we think about at the higher grades, the purpose of creating rubrics is that you're not accumulating points, you are demonstrating how you learn. So the rubrics are really the end game, whereas UDL is the instruction of how we get students to that point. when you're not requiring, a quiz or points or a test, traditional ways of assessment, you have rubrics as a way to work with the student. Okay, you're almost proficient. You have to provide different ways for them to demonstrate that learning instead of a quiz or a test. So for a high school student, it might be, I wrote a story, or maybe it's project-based. So that's how students can demonstrate their learning in different ways. Mm-hmm. Other questions?
Is that the umbrella method, like is that where the portrait of a learner comes from, or am I confusing?
I think that's connected.
It might not be.
Portrait of a learner is something that we canvassed the whole district and asked, what do you think we are responsible for creating at the very end of this career and education journey? What are the attributes you feel this student is this portrait? We have those 5 attributes. I think it is connected to universal design because with that portrait, how are we bringing that out in students? We have to connect all those things together. The UDL in and of itself, though, is how we get to that point. The portrait is the end game.
Are you sharing now? Oh, nice. Any other questions or comments for the superintendent? My only comment is I think the board and the superintendent are really aligned in increasing community communication. I think that's a key thing we hear throughout the district is people curious and wanting to know more about what goes on in our schools and how they can see that and what kind of and how they can be supportive. And I think that's a key part of how we can get more stakeholder buy-in and more support from taxpayers. So I think that's going to be really great that this is a goal for this year, and I think the best way to maybe measure that outcome outside of how, your intended outcomes will be measured with key metrics is also, whether or not we're able to get a budget passed with robust support. So I think this is a good challenge that we can collectively share. Not to put immense pressure on everyone in the room to get it done, but to just say that, I think we're up for the challenge, and I think it starts with, everything will move at the faith of trust, and we have to begin communicating in good faith and sincerely. And I think if we do that, we'll be in the right direction. And I also like the inclusion of more drug prevention. I think that's a bigger issue than people really want to discuss in our community. So. I would also like to be more involved with that. I am a huge advocate against drug use at any grade level, but especially risky behaviors at the high school. And I know Team Wolfeboro, a local nonprofit that's been operating for years, has done a lot of advocacy for the YRBS and encouraging the district to be more supportive and making sure students don't partake in risky behavior, especially drug use. So, Kayla, you had a question or a comment?
Yeah, just a comment, and sorry, I think I'm actually going backwards, but hearing you talk about everything that we do for students reminded me, and so I just also wanted to express gratitude from the Carpenter update, because in our buildings and maintenance meeting, we did have a really great conversation about that, and I just wanted to acknowledge the teachers and Principal Rowe and everything that they're doing for our kids, and just say another thank you. I see this constant theme of really doing what we can to meet our students, and a lot of sacrifices that are made on the parts of our staff members, and just really appreciate that.
Thank you.
I always do. Thank you for this set of goals, Dr. Arkelian. I'm very excited to see that your goals are in a continuation of what we've started with the greater access to meals to students in the district. I think that we are, every year when we see the student risk assessment survey come through, that we are very much struck by, the reality that risky behaviors like substance abuse are a problem within our community, so it's great to see that you're doing that. And yes, we'll take all the help we can get regarding community engagement and communication. That's really great. Thank you so much for developing these, and I think it'll be a positive year ahead.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, we can move on to the, oh, you need a vote. I'll make a motion to accept the superintendent's goals as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Beth. Is there any additional questions, comments, or discussion? Seeing none, Kathy, if you could call the roll once you're ready, please. I would have nearly forgotten. I was just like, yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it. Let's get to it.
Yes.
Kirsten? Yes. Kayla?
Yes.
Dr. Jim?
Yeah.
Mary?
Yes.
Dr. Beth?
Yes.
Danielle?
Yes.
Aye. Okay, now we will move to budget transfer requests. And if the board's comfortable, we can do these as a bulk, or we can do them individually. I don't know. I didn't find anything controversial about them, but I'll you know what? I'll let Caroline have the floor with Dr. Arkelian and introduce them both, and then we can decide.
Sure, it is very straightforward. I agree. So both transfers are here on either side of this page. The first is to move from consult services at the elementary to consult at the middle school for payment of speech services provided by Booth B for students at the middle school, transferring $15,500. And then the second is a transfer request for $15,000 from the middle school psychological testing to the consult services, and this is for payment for a school psychologist provided by Ceres for students at KRMS, and that's for evaluations.
Are there any questions about the, yeah, Tom?
On the request for a transfer regarding, I'd love to. Thank you very much. In regards to the first transfer from the elementary school to the middle school for consult services, it appears that these are some type of therapy services. Why do we need to be making that transfer from the elementary school to the middle school? Have they exhausted their?
Yes. So these are for speech services. This is for a speech and language service for students. We contract with Booth B Therapy for some of our speech services. We have speech language pathologists employed at the district. However, the need that we have exceeds the in-district employee services. And when we have to transfer from one school to the other, or the one account to the other due to a change in the school, it is because of an ebb and flow in the need. So, when we budget in special education, we budget in everything. It's a year to a year and a half ahead of time. And so we have to do a lot of predicting. And so this is a case where less was needed at one level and more was needed in another level.
And did we have an influx of students with these needs?
Not necessarily, influx? No. Not necessarily.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions about either budget transfer request? Then I would, if we're comfortable, I would request a motion that we accept both budget line item, sorry, is that budget transfer request as presented? Moved by Dr. Jim, seconded by Dr. Beth. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Kathy, if you could call the roll, please.
Yes.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Dr. Beth?
Yes.
Danielle?
Yes.
Bree?
Aye. Motion passes 8-0. And next we move on to the Wood Estate application.
Thank you. So this Wood Estate Expendable Trust Fund application is for Camp Invention. And so we have this request every year. The request is for approximately $5,500 to be earmarked to Camp Invention for Carpenter, Crescent Lake School, Ospey, Effingham, Tuftonboro, and New Durham schools for 1 week this summer. We're hoping for June 22nd through 26th. And it's run by a nonprofit organization. However, this helps to offset costs for transportation and tuition.
All right. Do you know what the questions are going to be, Kathy? I almost feel like we should start including it on the, what's it called? Not the applications, but what comes to the board is what we have obligated for this year and et cetera, but yeah. Yeah.
So right now, we have obligated 17,000, and you are allocated $22,548. So there's a balance of $5,548. Therefore, New Durham, Kelly Colby CV is asking for $5,500, which will leave a balance of $48.
Okay. So this will be the final expenditure, and I think moving forward, if we can include that with the board's packets, just so we don't have to ask every time, Kathy. So I think it might be easier for you and for the boards. We have that information in advance. But so basically, we are being asked to obligate the last about $5,500 for Camp Invention from what we have available with the Wood Estate Trust.
That's right.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Tom?
Mr. Chairman, I think it would be very helpful to me, I don't know, presumably for the rest of the board, if we could get a list of organizations that have applied in the past and awarded grants, maybe for like 3 years back. So we have an idea of who has come to apply for these funds, and why not just be first come, first served, as much as possible. Just to have an idea. We have language clubs that come and so forth, and we get an idea of when they do come, if they come on a particular year.
So you'd like to see a list of all the applications for funds from the Wood Estate Trust over the last 3 years?
And what they received.
And what they received. Is that possible?
The next time.
I have a list of all of them, because I keep the running total. It's not a physical paper, but it's in my notes on the spreadsheets. Now, the applications always come before you for those requests, so they'd be in board packets. But
I think Tom's question might be more than just what we awarded, but if there are people who apply and don't get accepted, or if the amount changes. But my understanding is almost anyone who applies, it comes to the board, and then we make the final determination on what they get.
correct.
Okay, but you could supply us with what they asked us and then what we awarded over a 3-year period.
I put what they are awarded, because that's what my dollar amount needs to reference for the
Okay.
allocation based on the policy.
Tom, would that be fine if we got over a 3-year period who was awarded what from the Wood Estate Trust from the board?
Yeah.
Okay. If you could send that to us in an email in the next month.
Mhm.
Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate it. Dr. Beth?
Obviously, I'm a huge proponent of camp invention. One thing I was a little confused about in the proposal, though, is this sort of long commentary about mileage. So I think I would personally feel more comfortable if more of the funds were being applied in a way that would reduce the cost of the program for families who wish to participate in the program. And I would like to be equitable to teachers that are being asked to drive, but you know, I'm a little confused by the mileage comment. Why it would require $1,500? Is it that teachers are coming from far away to Wolfeboro to do the teaching? What is going on?
Buses?
It's busing? It's busing for students to come?
Yes,
Oh,
correct.
okay.
Yep. These are our school buses and our drivers.
Well, this is the first time I've seen this. I didn't see this one. Okay, I retract my comment.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? I don't know if there was a motion. Was there? I'll make a motion that we accept the Wood Estate application as presented.
Second.
Okay. My only comment will be just know there's only $48 left for the year. Okay. Might be a good. I think we're going to use it as Dr. Jim's Christmas present. We'll use that $48 for, right? I'm kidding. Okay, is there any other comments? Kath, you could call the roll once you're ready, please. Dr. Jim. Oh, no, Kirsten. Sorry.
Yes.
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 Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Beth?
Yes.
Danielle?
Yes.
Marie?
Aye. Motion passes 8-0, and
Thank you.
that concludes the superintendent's report. We now move on to the chairperson's report. I have no correspondence other than our Human Resources Committee got a nice note from GWIA now that negotiations have concluded. Spoiler alert, that'll come up in my HR committee report later on. Next is the delegate assembly. You'll notice in your packets I decided this year I would write a report about what happened at the delegate assembly. And I mentioned at the end of my report too that the delegate assembly does need to keep draft meeting minutes that are then approved at the future delegate assembly. So if you want to read more about what happened at the delegate assembly, beyond what I provided as a report, contact Barrett Christina or Becky Wilson or Will Phillips at the School Boards Association. They can get you those draft meeting minutes. They're very nice and pleasurable people who can help you get that. Does anyone have any questions about the delegate assembly report that I compiled?
Thank you for representing us.
Happy to. Actually, one of my, I kind of thought there's a lot that happens there, and you know, not everyone will take the time to read the meeting minutes from the annual delegates assembly meeting. So I was like, what if I, and also did a synopsis of what kind of happened, but I also thought, you know, honestly, it's one of my favorite things I do all year as a board member, just generally. It is, I enjoy it. But there's also a lot of things that I do that, you know, I might not, you guys probably would like to be aware about. So there are comments I make on behalf of our board on different resolutions or procedural things that happen during it where I make points of order. So I thought it might be helpful. And I think a very interesting thing too was the presentation they provided this year, which was on coordinated communication for school boards. So I was sure to grab business card, but I put the website, and that might be something that the communications or the community relations committee might want to review and consider. He's done consulting for many school districts throughout the state on improving their, you know, their coordinated communication with the district and as a board, so it might be worth exploring. But that's kind of it. All right. Seeing no questions on that, I will move to school care. And look, everyone left. Not everyone. We have the two principals for OCS, and Wolfeboro Community Television. Timothy Goodwin's still here. Thank you, Timothy. So, as has kind of been per usual, the board met again in non-public to discuss a plethora of things, but one of them being the assessment we received, the approximately $1.65 million assessment from School Care, and I have a follow-up statement to that. And then to highlight an action the board took at the same meeting. So, and this will be published on our website, and I assume the board will want me to publish this in the newspaper again. We'll read it first, and then you guys can decide if it's good enough for print. Thank you, Tom. Dear Governor Wentworth community, on October 22nd, the school board held an emergency meeting in non-public session in accordance with New Hampshire RSA 91-A to discuss the ongoing legal matter related to the $1,642,316.20 assessment that School Care, the governmental risk management program, sent to the Governor Wentworth Regional School District on October 1. For context, on September 23rd, the Governor Wentworth Regional School District received correspondence from School Care informing us that School Care has a projected $4.5 million deficit to close their fiscal year, which ended on June 30, 2025. When School Care announced to members its projected $4.5 million deficit and ongoing financial issues related to health insurance claims and pharmacy costs, which continue to outpace their estimates, they also informed Governor Wentworth and other members that they would be issuing a $30 million pro rata contribution assessment to all member entities who were members as of June 30, 2025. School Care told members that this action will restore its reserves to a level of 12% of member contributions. For most members, this assessment will roughly equal 1 1/2 months of contributions. At the board's emergency meeting on October 22, the board approved a plan to pay the $1,642,316.20 assessment issued by School Care to Governor Wentworth. The board made this decision based on advice from the state and without waiving any right to claim that the assessment is illegal or a breach of contract. The plan to pay the $1,642,316.20 assessment from School Care includes $992,188.96 of excess revenue from the state, mostly from state reimbursements to the school district for the state's share of specific public education costs, and $79,598.56 in unassigned budget funds from the end of the school district's 2025 fiscal year. The school board will include $570,528.68 in the upcoming budget, fiscal year 27, as a contractual cost. The board did not approve paying the estimated $17,331 interest that School Care will charge on the $570,528.68 outstanding balance for the assessment, which will be included in next year's budget. The board also chose to still appropriate $150,000 of unassigned budget funds to the Buildings and Maintenance Trust Fund as approved by the voters at the annual meeting in March of 2025, rather than to the assessment. The board was required to hold an emergency meeting to address the School Care assessment because the state needed the board to determine whether it would use excess revenues and unassigned budget funds to help cover the cost. The board was informed that it needed to decide by the last week of October, as it would affect the tax rate, which may be set as which must be set in early to mid-November. The board also felt a strong ethical obligation to ensure employees' health insurance plans continue uninterrupted and that all insurance claims are processed. School Care publicly stated that it would stop processing claims for members' employees if payment were not received by May 2026. Given the tight and unforgiving timeline, the board took action to ensure that we used available funds to minimize the impact on the current fiscal year's budget. Additionally, on October 7, the board's counsel requested additional justification from School Care regarding its actions and other relevant information for the board and council to review. The board received a written response from School Care on October 30, which included School Care's legal justification for assessing member entities and other relevant information. The board is still reviewing this information, may follow up with further questions, and is still considering further actions. The board will continue to explore all legal remedies with its council and other School Care member entities. As previously mentioned, the board is not waiving any right to claim that the assessment is illegal or a breach of contract by approving a plan to pay the assessment. If anyone has any questions about this ongoing legal matter, please do not hesitate to contact me, the board chair, and/or the superintendent. Respectfully submitted, Brody S. DeShays, Governor Wentworth Regional School Board Chair, Member at Large. So that's our statement at our October 22nd board meeting. The board did vote, and we read the meeting minutes tonight, that the board will be seeking to pursue all legal remedy to recover all money related to the school care assessment. Is there any comments or questions from the board? And Tom, is this good enough for print?
Yes.
Thank you. I assume based on our first statement, we'd want to update the public again too, and I think that was a smart idea, recommending it at the Effingham meeting, that we put these statements in the newspaper.
I think I missed part of what you were saying.
You recommended in Effingham we put our first statement from October 6th in the newspaper. And I said, I think it's a good idea that we put our second statement in the newspaper also.
I agree.
And so this statement will be attached to tonight's meeting minutes that we'll approve at our December meeting, and it will also go on the website too to supplement the current statement. And I know Dr. Beth had mentioned that it might be worth adding some kind of information with both statements that kind of describes what a risk pool even is.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people don't know what a risk pool is, and that's not an unreasonable thing for them to not know what a risk pool is. So. Okay. There's no motion. I'll just submit this to the newspaper, and we're probably going to have another non-public meeting before our next meeting. Any other questions or comments? That concludes my report. I'll move on to committee reports. Dr. Beth, Academic Affairs, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay, so tonight we are in second read. That means that these policies are up for adoption, revision, affirmation, or withdrawal. And so we'll take each policy block together. I'll read them for the benefit of the public watching at home. The titles, at least, of those policies. If you have comments about the ones that are up now, we'll have the opportunity for discussion, and then I'll ask for the board to do whatever it is that's appropriate for that particular block. So we'll begin with policies that are recommended for adoption. Again, second read, this is the real deal. Those policies are BBBE, vacancies and unexpired term fulfillment, and IKFC, alternate diploma for students with significant cognitive disabilities. And so as a reminder, BBBE went back down to committee, and it was revised, specifically one sentence in section B where it says vacancy on school board. So we worked to clarify some of that language. Any discussion about these policies? Mary?
Oops. Apologies, I neglected to grab the proper bundle. So I'm going to rely on your and our previous conversations.
Yeah.
I brought it up the last time as I read it, that the board would fill, the remaining board members would fill the vacancy. In my way of thinking, which can be sometimes awkward compared to others, I interpreted that as meaning as somehow we would become half a person and fill that. So our previous conversation, I'm going to rely on you to report that, if you don't mind, a suggestion that clarifies. I mean, we know what's going to happen, that has happened, but the language such that, no, we're not going to divide a person in half to fill.
Yep, so my suggestion was, I have it right here. So in that sentence in section B, we would modify the policy one last time, and it would finally read, in the event of a vacancy on the school board, the remaining school board members shall fill the vacancy with a new candidate. So we're not half people, we just get a new human. Yes?
Thank you.
I'm happy to make that change if others don't object. Any other discussion or comments about these policies? Okay, so at this time we'll take a motion to adopt the two policies in this block as revised.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. And Kathy, when you're ready, call the roll before Brody fades completely.
Yes.
Kirsten? Yes. Kayla?
Yes.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Dr. Beth?
Yes.
Danielle?
Yes.
Brody?
Aye.
Okay, great. Now we're moving on to policy block 2 for revision. You can take a nap while I read them. Here we go. They are BEDG, meeting minutes, EBB, school safety, EBBB, accident reports, EBCH, chemical safety and chemical hygiene plan, IHCA, summer activities, IIB, class size, IJ, instructional resources and instructional resources plan, IK, earning credit, IKB, homework, IKEA, classification, oh, sorry, trademark violation, sorry, IKEA, classification as an 11th grader, IKF, graduation requirements, IMAH, daily physical activity, IMBA, distance education, IMBD, high school credit for 7th, 8th grade coursework. What, IMBD? That's not my fault. No, it's IMDB that it would be. We're good. JG, assignment of students to classes and grade levels. JIC, student conduct. JLCF, wellness. JLCK, special physical health needs of students. JLIA, supervision of students. And so these policies have each been revised by the committee in their current form on the board site. Any comments or discussion, questions about what's in this block presently?
I'll make a motion to approve the block as presented.
Second.
I think Jim beat you on that one. So moved by Brody, seconded by Dr. Manning. Kathy, when you're ready. No further discussion?
These are a great block of revisions.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Yes.
I have been told that I have a sleepy voice.
Yes.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Dr. Beth?
Yes.
Danielle?
Yes.
Brody?
Okay, last one. These are the ones that are going away. Policies that are being withdrawn tonight are IKAA, interdisciplinary credit, IKFA, early completion, ILBAA, high school graduation competencies, and IMBC, alternative credit options. Any objections to the withdrawal of these 4 policies? Comments or discussion?
I'll move to approve the withdrawals as presented.
Thank you, Brody. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Danielle. Kathy?
Tom?
Yes.
Kirsten? Yes. Kayla?
Yes.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Dr. Beth?
Yes.
Danielle?
Yes.
Brody?
Aye.
Okay, academic affairs will meet again on November 10th, and we'll take up a new block. See you next time. Thank you.
Dr. Jim, you have a committee report, buildings and maintenance.
Unless Kathy has heard something from the state about the lead. No, the only thing I think of is the lead abatement at New Durham. We haven't got anything yet, have we?
Yes, we do have an update on that.
We do?
Yay.
That's news.
That was, I
I didn't receive the information. I think it was sent through an email because the phone call came into the superintendent, but the state approved the Get the Lead Out application for New Durham. Thank you very much, Dr. Scheckler. Mhm.
Big win.
Big win.
Get the lead out.
They don't do it fast, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Other than that, Carolyn had the Carpenter School update.
Right.
And we are going to go from building maintenance, I recommend 200,000 for the building maintenance account and 50,000 for the trust.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Figuring the 200,000 was not a bad investment considering what happened to Carpenter.
Sweet. All right. Thank you, Dr. Jim. Next is community relations. I don't think they've had a meeting since our last board meeting, and so there's nothing for Mr. Williams to report. Mr. Williams is traveling on business right now, so he couldn't attend tonight's meeting, but wishes us all well and the Ospey Central School well. Probably should have mentioned that like 3 hours ago, so I'm sorry. Finance, there's nothing to report yet, but we are meeting November 18th, 19th, and 20th at Crescent Lake School at 6 p.m. in the library. So you go in the double doors, take a right, and then take a right down the right wing of the school. It's the first doors on the left. Human resources. God, how long? Last Tuesday? Last Tuesday, Human Resources Committee finished its negotiations with the professional staff union, GWIA, the Governor Wentworth Educators Association, so our certified teachers. So I will be writing the board a report to review in non-public, and we'll be having a non-public discussion at our December meeting related to what was negotiated and for the board to ratify the agreement, and then we will share with the public what we ratify and explain our rationale for what we negotiated and how we worked with GWIA. So we did a lot to negotiate, and now we come together and hopefully get behind this contract as a collective. Next is non-committee reports. Ms. Burke, Wolfeboro CIP. Do you have anything to report on? No. That's fine. If you have nothing to report. Yeah, my understanding is you guys are done.
Yeah, there's
so.
one final meeting to review everything, but I'm not going to be able to make that meeting. So if someone wants to go in my place, they're welcome. And then after that, it's presentations, which will be in the evenings. So.
What time is the next meeting for them to review everything? What day and time?
I would have to get back to you on that. It was sent in the email.
That's okay.
I can't remember.
If you could just forward it to the board, and if any board member wants to go in your stead, that would be great.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. Mary, Wolfeboro Community Television, the very ever incapable, transparent light in our community.
Isn't that right, Timothy? So I am very pleased to share that the Wolfeboro Community Television has successfully completed the first year of its 3-year Save Our Station campaign, thanks to the generous support of local residents, businesses, and foundations. That was to generate the funds to replace an aging server that, because right now on it's death rattle or something horrible like that, but because of Timothy's wizardry and MacGyvering, he's able to keep that going until the new one actually has been ordered and training for installation and operations is underway. These are critical steps in modernizing WCTV systems and ensuring reliable public access service for viewers. The board has applied for several grants and opportunities, one of which was applying to be part of the Wolfeboro Festival of Trees as a beneficiary, and we were selected to be one of the 4, and that's very exciting. As some might remember, that the Wolfeboro Festival of Trees, it began in 1999 as a fundraiser for Life Ministries Food Pantry. The festival has grown into a 2-weekend tradition benefiting a variety of local nonprofits. This year's recipients are the Child Advocacy Center of Carroll County, the Granite VNA, Kingswood Cal Ripken Baseball Softball League, and the aforementioned Wolfeboro Community Television. Looking ahead, this is year 1 of 3 years of a very aggressive and successful so far fundraising. The next 2 years, our focus will be centered on pursuing grants and ongoing fundraising to grow and sustain WCTV services for the community, such as expanding streaming options and more growth in studio access for individuals and organizations, as well as local businesses, education and open access to understanding government processes. I'm not sure everyone understands that WCTV has a very great studio with all kinds. I'm tired, sorry, I can't even come up with words. The studio is just top notch. You could come in and film anything you want. It does not necessarily have to go on cable television. It may be something you're just producing for your organization. When I say anything that you want, there are FCC rules that we must follow. But I'm happy to share the great news, and I appreciate the opportunity to give you that to the board.
I'll see you at the Festival of Trees.
Pardon me?
I said I'll see you at the Festival of
Oh,
Trees.
yes. You have to dress up, you know.
I know.
As what?
Whatever you were for Halloween. So speaking of which, then I'll just go ahead and mention that the Festival of Trees events, there's a gala Thursday, December 4th, craft fair. Saturday, December 6th, pizza in the Pines on Wednesday, December 10th, festival weekends, December 6th through the 14th. And this is just a super great example of community coming together and celebrate that which is valued. There are all kinds of different trees. I know there's one from the curling group at the ice rink.
Schools Out does one.
Pardon me?
School's Out.
Oh, yeah. So I
They do
say
one.
come, it's a great opportunity.
And the PTOs, that's right, the PTOs do them. So we have a lot of Governor Wentworth community members
Swag.
who make wonderful trees.
And if no one's ever been to the Wright Museum, that it'll be open to tour the facilities. It's a gem, and it's about the home front, and not just war necessarily. The end.
Thank you, Mary. That's a great report. Good way to end it. Advanced planning. So there's an early release on November 7th. There's no school for Veterans Day on November 10th. Oh wait, no, that was a lie, I'm sorry. There's no school for parent-teacher conferences on November 10th, and there's an academic affairs committee meeting. November 11th, there's Veterans Day, so no school. And as I mentioned previously, November 18th, 19th, and 20th is our finance committee meetings at Crescent Lake School at 6 p.m. And Thanksgiving break is November 26th through the 28th, and our next school board meeting is in New Durham on December 8th, and please see GWRSD.org/calendar for our most current event details that are subject to change. And with that, we have our last public input period, 15 minutes, 3 minutes for individuals unless extended by a vote of the board. We ask that you please state your name and town of residence, full name and town of residence to be respectful, direct your comments to the board, and I have to time to be a little bit more stringent. Do either of the principals from OCS want to provide public input? Timothy, do you have anything to add? Seeing no public input, then I would request a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Dr. Betts, seconded by Mary. Kathy, if you could call the roll once you are ready.
Yes.
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 Dr. Jen?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Dr. Beth?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I don't know if I like that. Aye. We're adjourned.